In professional wrestling, almost anything can become a successful character for the ring. But despite professional wrestling embracing a certain amount of weirdness, not every wrestling gimmick gets out of the gate. Here are a few of the most strange and odious pro grappling concepts that didn't survive very long. 7. After Dustin Rhodes, formerly known as Goldust in the WWE, jumped ship to WCW, they decided to repackage him as a much darker character. His new character, Seven, was a white-faced, demonic entity who lured children into serving him for God knows what reason, which was messed up on many levels. The higher-ups at Turner Broadcasting Corporation, who owned WCW, got spooked as well, mainly by the whole child abduction aspect of Seven. So the character was already dead even as he floated to the ring. What fans got instead of Seven was Rhodes going off and delivering one of the most vicious tongue lashings ever witnessed in wrestling. Dustin raged at WWE for having him be Goldust before turning his scorn on WCW for making him dress up like Uncle Fester, and for firing his father Dusty from the company. Although the whole thing was orchestrated by WCW head writer Vince Russo, wrestling fans were pretty shocked. Dustin ultimately got what he said he wanted, a chance to be himself, playing the American Nightmare, a persona his brother Cody would make far better use of 20 years later in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But in 1999, WCW was where ambition and promise went to die, as far as up-and-coming wrestlers were concerned, and so Dustin soon returned to WWE, becoming his seemingly despised Goldust character for good. Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. The Brooklyn Brawler is known to wrestling fans as the world's most legendary loser, but he's also had more secret identities than the Justice League, including his baseball player persona, Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. As it turns out, Schwartz may have been born out of WWE's desire to make some weak social commentary. When Schwartz first stepped into the ring in 1994, a huge strike was happening in Major League Baseball that would last for nearly a year, thanks to team owners trying to keep baseball players' salaries from rising. Schwartz apparently was wrestling to make ends meet. From his first appearance, he made it clear that he was less than happy about the strike happening. Schwartz's ire was saved purely for the wrestling fans, who apparently were the reason baseball was so insanely screwed up. If that logic makes sense to you, then congratulations on getting your internet access privileges back at the mental hospital. Backstage, the idea for the character came out of a desire to blast the MLB for their constant profiteering of the fans, something that WWE would absolutely never, ever do. Abe proved to be about as useless as the actual Knuckleball, and he vanished from WWE television in short order. Duke Rotundo. Thanks to a wave of cryptic doublespeak and vicious brutality, Bray Wyatt sits at the top of WWE. But before he figured out how to channel his inner cult leader, Bray's first real appearance in Florida Championship Wrestling was as Duke Rotundo, a wisecracking dude with a Shaft-esque partner. Together, they ran Sports Entertainment's #1 detective agency, though Duke's real MO was to show off his chest to any interested women of Florida. Unfortunately for all those ladies, the agency went bankrupt quick, in favor of Duke being teamed up with his brother Bo Rotundo, aka the soon-to-be Bo Dallas. Eventually, he joined the first season of NXT, and then the Nexus as Husky Harris. He's now the creepiest wrestler since Undertaker, and a world champion to boot. We'd say that's a mighty fine improvement from fat dude who thinks he's sexy Sherlock Holmes. Christmas Creature and Santa Claus. Over his 20-plus year run as Kane, the scarred pyromaniac brother of The Undertaker, Glenn Jacobs has made it into wrestling legend with multiple championship reigns. But you can't grow a flower without burying it in a couple of feet of crap, and Jacobs had a lot of crap to wade through before he made it to the Big Red Machine. Probably the most ridiculous of his awful gimmicks was the Christmas Creature. A giant green apparition, clad in the remains of a Michaels Christmas clearance sale, the only thing diabolical about Christmas Creature was the amount of tinsel strapped to his body. As fellow wrestler Madman Pondo tells it, the character inspired a lot more chuckles than screams, and thankfully had a short shelf life. Sadly, Jacob still had some time as Jerry Lawler's evil dentist to look forward to. Only after that did he finally become the iconic Kane. The Christmas Creature wasn't even the worst holiday-themed wrestling gimmick out there, even though you can't do a damn thing with him from January to November. There's also Santa Claus, the bizarro to Santa's Superman. Apparently, Xanta stole presents from good little children. So if you're ever wondering who these heartless monsters are who swipe from Toys for Tots, here's suspect number 1, Clad in a black Xanta suit and sporting a coal black beard, ECW's Balls Mahoney allied with Ted DiBiase to try to put the screws to Christmas for no discernible reason. Old school bad guys didn't really need a motive to be bad besides, we're bad. However, even the legendary $1 Million Man couldn't make Christmas miracles happen for Santa Claus, and he didn't even stick around as long as your average snowman. Oz. Wrestling loves the idea of making famous movie characters into wrestlers, and there was no more ostentatious attempt at this than Oz, which was Kevin Nash slapped into a goofy wizarding costume and sent out to beat down his foes. Best part is, they didn't even have to worry about those pesky copyright issues, because Turner Broadcasting owned the rights to The Wizard of Oz. Everybody wins, except Nash. Oz did get a few victories and got massively popular over in Japan. That is, before Ron Simmons stopped a mud hole in him at the 1991 Great American Bash, after which he apparently clicked his heels 3 times and bailed back to the Emerald City. In reality, Oz's push vanished after Nash refused a new pay structure from WCW, and he disappeared a year later to join Shawn Michaels in the WWF as Diesel. Eventually, he'd come back to WCW and start the infamous New World Order, because who wouldn't want revenge on a company that shafted them years back by getting stronger and attempting to destroy it from within? The Shockmaster. He was quite possibly the greatest wrestling flop of all time, literally. Fred Ottman had just left the WWF, and WCW decided the best way to introduce him would be to slap a bedazzled Stormtrooper helmet on his head, throw a sleeveless XXL bathrobe around his shoulders, and make him the mystery partner for Sting's team in an 8-man tag match. Ottman burst through the wall, then tripped over a piece of the wall in the bottom, toppling him face first and knocking his helmet off. As he struggles to put it back on, you can almost feel the moment die. Dusty Rhodes, who came up with the Shockmaster gimmick, claimed there was sabotage involved. WCW tried to make lemonade out of this incident, first by portraying Shockmaster as a clumsy goof, then really doubling down by making him the Super Shockmaster. Neither worked, and the Shockmaster quickly wound up forever confined to the annals of hilarious history. Emmalina. In 2016, after a very well-received heel run unfortunately got cut short by injury, WWE's Emma announced her return to the ring via a character change, a makeover from Emma to Emmalina. The announcement was accompanied by a lot of photos that wouldn't have been out of place in a Vanity Fair spread. Fans didn't seem to show much interest, so while the WWE said Emmalina would be premiering soon, her debut ended up happening after over 4 months of empty promises. Then the day finally came. In a voice that sounded like Fran Drescher getting a colonoscopy, Emmalina informed the Raw crowd that they would get to witness the makeover of Emmalina back to Emma. Then she turned around and walked out, leaving absolutely everyone confused. In the aftermath, the WWE decided the character had to be scrapped, at least for now. There's a possibility that another woman might get the character, but whoever it is, it certainly won't be evil Emma. Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.